Welcome. I want to welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. It's your boy Jalen, and we had a busy week/weekend in sports. You had the Michael Jordan doc, you had the draft, you had NFL free agency moves or NFL moves transactions, and we'll talk about it. I want to thank you guys for being here, and let's just start off with the draft. Of course, the biggest buildup of the draft is who's going to go number one, who's going to go number two, who's your team going to pick. One thing that the draft shows year after year is the teams tell you what direction they're trying to go in, or if they even have a direction in the first place. You know, it tells you if the team wants to go run happy. It tells you if the team is satisfied with what they have. The draft does not fail to let you know where your team is and how your team feels about its current position in the NFL. And this draft was no different. Of course, you have all these people that, or you know, all these networks and stuff that want to do draft grades. I'm not going to do that. I don't feel like going through all 32 teams and like giving them a grade. That's just not what I'm about to do. But I'm going to give you 5 winners and 5 losers. Now, on my winners, I don't think they particularly are the best teams, of course, but I do think that they modeled their draft exactly what they wanted and exactly what they needed, and they attacked that position, or they attacked their needs. The losers, I don't think some of the people, at least one team on the losers lost the draft, but we'll talk about it. So I'm going to go 1 winner, 1 loser, and I'm going to do five of each. So I'm going to do 10 altogether, I guess. Let's start off with the first winner, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins didn't want to say they were tanking. In fact, all season they were talking about, no, we're not tanking. We're trying to put the best formula out, or best team out there. We're trying to win at all costs. That is not the case at all. Last year, Miami was tanking. And I liked their coach, Brian Flores. I liked, some of the pieces they had. It's just they didn't have a quarterback, and they needed a lot of help. And I feel like they addressed that with Tua Tagovailoa at, I think, the 5th overall pick. And it kind of scared me because, and I believe there was smoke screen. Well, at least I hoped there was smoke screen, and thank God it was. A lot of people were saying that the Dolphins were going to pick Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa. And don't get me wrong, I'm an Oregon fan. I love Oregon. But, and I say that to say, I've watched Justin Herbert extensively last year. And then I saw what Tua did. Even with injuries, Tua is better than Justin Herbert. So I'm so glad that they went with Tua. They addressed defensive needs. They addressed offensive needs. They addressed all the needs. Now, no, I don't think that they'll be prime to start winning next year. But with the AFC East, with Tom Brady leaving, it's pretty much wide open. The Dolphins, they made moves that'll make them better in the present and in the future. And I think that that's the best kind of moves that you can make. It's just not, okay, we're only planning for the future, but we're gonna sacrifice our now, or we're planning for the now and sacrifice or worry about the future when we get there. I think that Miami addressed all that. On the flip side, the first loser is the Packers. Now, I don't think they particularly lost the draft, but like I said before, teams show you exactly what direction they want to be in, or if they're happy with the direction they're in now with the draft. The Packers were a game away from the Super Bowl. Yes, Aaron Rodgers didn't have the best year that he's had, but of course, you have a new coach, new offensive system. They're learning it together. But again, even in that, you were a game away from the Super Bowl. Your defense, I feel you had defensive needs. You had offensive line needs. You had definitely wide receiver needs. Though the one thing I don't think you needed to worry about was the quarterback. You have Aaron Rodgers. While Aaron Rodgers might not be a top 5 quarterback right now, he's definitely still one of the most gifted quarterbacks we've ever seen in the league. Not to mention, you were a game away from the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers and with Aaron Jones, with all that. And you go, there were 35 wide receivers picked. I think the biggest need that the biggest need that the Packers needed was a wide receiver. There were 35 wide receivers drafted this year. The Packers picked not one. And on top of that, you move up. You trade up, and your first pick be Jordan Love, quarterback. When you have Aaron Rodgers, who can give you at least a good 4, maybe 5 years left. And at that point, I get you worrying about the future. I get you planning on the future. Of course, it's smart. I get you don't really have a heir apparent behind Aaron Rodgers. But when you were a game away from the Super Bowl and you still have Aaron Rodgers playing at a high level and you know that your biggest needs are wide receiver and defense, why would your first pick, after trading up, by the way, why would your first pick be a quarterback who, by the way, won't be playing we don't think will be playing for at least 3, maybe 4 years. So it's like, I don't think that was the smartest decision. Do I think that they lost the draft completely? No. I think that they still made some solid picks. They still made some solid defensive picks. But when one of your most glaring weaknesses was wide receiver, especially if Davante Adams if Davante Adams is not playing well or hurt, they're pretty much screwed when it comes to wide receivers. So the fact that you didn't even get a tight end, and it's just a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think that they really capitalized on what their needs were. But on the flip side of that, another winner were the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens is a stacked team. The Baltimore Ravens, they don't really have any weaknesses. They have wide receivers. They have tight ends. They have, of course, the quarterback. They have the offensive and defensive line. They have the defensive backs. They don't really have a weakness. So what they did was they strengthened themselves. You know, they got the running back from Ohio State. I think J.K. Dobbins, I believe. They got T. Higgins. They got so many good players. It's like, you know, they just strengthened themselves to the point where if any of those players hit, they could easily say that they won the draft. Again, they don't. When you're a team like the Ravens, who don't need much, but when you need some fine tuning, but you don't need any work, that is a good thing. And they fine tuned, and they fine tuned with some really good players. So that's another winner, which are the Ravens. Go back to the loser side. You have, look. I understand that last year the Eagles dealt with a lot of injury. Carson Wentz was injured. Pretty much their whole offensive line was injured. Pretty much their whole wide receiver core was injured. Pretty much their whole defense was injured. They all were injured. Now, I know you have Marquise Goodwin. I know that you got him this year. I know you have Deshaun Jackson coming back. I know you have some pieces. But to me, I get that you don't really have a backup quarterback, but I don't understand why with your second pick, I believe, you draft Jalen Hurts after giving a 25-year-old Carson Wentz an extension that's worth, I believe, 5 years, and next year will be the first year or first or second year that you're in it. So Jalen Hurts probably won't be playing. Of course, unless barring injury, knock on wood, he won't be playing for at least 4 years. So why not address some of your needs? Why not address the offensive line? Why not address some of the defense that left? You know, you need a safety. You need a corner. Why not address that? You address a position that you could, not to mention, I think that wherever I believe that Jalen Hurts probably would have been there in the 3rd or 4th round where they could have got him. But they got him in the 2nd round. And it's with their second pick. when they still had they needed a safety, they needed a cornerback, they needed a defensive tight end. I mean, defensive tight end, defensive end. They needed so many positions. Yeah, you have Dallas Goedert. You have I forgot homeboy's name, the tight end, but you don't need a quarterback. It's like this. You do need a backup quarterback. Everybody needs a backup quarterback. I get that, but why would you draft a quarterback so high after paying Carson Wentz an extension, one of the highest extension or one of the most wealthiest extensions in NFL history at the time? Why would you do that and then just a year later draft a quarterback so high? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, I don't know. I guess that kind of goes to. I guess I can kind of move over to another winner, which is the Dallas Cowboys. I think that while the NFC East, you know what? I'm going to go to two winners, the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins. I'm a Redskins fan. We all know this. And year after year, I've been disappointed after draft. I've been disappointed after draft. It's like we didn't address this. We didn't address that. We addressed so much. And I think that one thing that we needed was we needed a wide receiver. We got Antonio, Grandy Golden. We got him. He's from, I believe, Liberty. That's a pretty good pick for where we were. We needed, it's like, one reason why I said the Cowboys and the Redskins won is at their positions, the Redskins were drafting at second and the Cowboys were drafting at 17th, I believe. You can either go with team needs or the best player. And I think both times teams went with the best players. The Cowboys do not need CeeDee Lamb. Or if they do need a quarterback, if they do need a wide receiver, they don't need him in the first round. But they lost a lot of defense, and they needed to address the defense like head on. So at 17, you don't need CeeDee Lamb. But CeeDee Lamb was the best player in their eyes. There was the best player still left on the board. With the Redskins, their defense wasn't the problem last year. The problem was their defense was on the field so much they were tired. Like their defense, especially the front line of the defense, wasn't the problem. However, when you're drafting number 2, it's kind of hard not to go with Chase Young. Chase Young was, I believe, the only player in this year's draft with a perfect rating. Was, he's the only player that you can kind of, barring injury, of course, which I don't wish injury on anybody. He's the one player that looks like his capability, his ceiling could be, or his heights could be Hall of Fame. He looks like the most NFL-ready player. So while the Redskins might have needed, they might have needed a wide receiver more. They might have needed a tight end a little more than an edge rusher. But you have the number 2 overall pick, so you go with the best pick, and I'm not mad at that. Like I said, the Redskins addressed almost everything they needed. They needed a wide receiver, so they got Antonio. They needed a tight end. And it was good that they got Thaddeus Moss. Now, I don't know how Thaddeus Moss would be, and they got him. They didn't draft him, but he was picked up as one of the free agents or undrafted free agents. So we'll see how that goes. But Thaddeus Moss is a big body that can catch the ball. So, we'll see and integrate him. We didn't really need a running back, but what we needed to do was address the offensive line, which we did. We had Shaquid Charles from LSU. We got Keith Ishmael, and I think that's it. But we also did lose Trent Williams, and I'm kind of, of course you don't want to see a player like that leave, but with everything that's gone around, Trent Williams, the team trainer, and I want to, demanding trades that, and so I'm just glad it's over. I'm not saying like good riddance or anything. Shouts out to Trent Williams. Do what you got to do. He was traded to the 49ers. So shouts out to you. But I'm just glad that the Redskins addressed their needs. And the Cowboys, they got the best player at their position. They got one of the best running backs in the draft. Now you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Amari Cooper, and you have what's the homie's name? Oh dang it! I forgot the other wide receiver's name, but that's Michael Gallup. You got Michael Gallup. Those are going to be that's going to be a hard trio to stop, especially with Ezekiel Elliott at the running back. So, the Redskins and the Ravens, the Redskins and the Dallas were big winners to me in the draft, which just strengthens the NFC East. While the Eagles and the Giants might not have fared so well, so we'll see how it goes moving forward. Another loser, however, were the Bears. I don't know what direction the Bears are going in. At this current moment, the Bears have 10, not wide receivers, not running backs, not defensive linemen. They have 10 tight ends. 10. Not to mention, this is after signing Jimmy Graham this year and still drafting a tight end. Look, I remember when the Khalil Mack trade happened. I was like, yo, the Raiders got fleeced. They not only do you have Khalil Mack, you have all these picks. They've turned now. Of course, they haven't just picked tight ends, but you have 10 tight ends. What direction are you going? Are you going to be a run first defense? Are you going to be a run happy offense? If you're going to be a run happy offense, you shouldn't. I don't know why you have so much faith in Mitch Trubisky. Are you going to be a pass first offense? If you're going to be a pass first offense, why do you have 10 tight ends when Mitch Trubisky isn't really a mobile quarterback? He can run, but he's not like a Lamar Jackson. He's not like a Patrick Mahomes. Hell, he's not even like a Carson Wentz. So why do you have 10 tight ends? If you want to be a defensive first team or defensive-oriented team, why do you draft majority offensive players when you should focus on the defense? While the defense is still good, why not focus on that? If you want to be an offensive-oriented team, why is Mitch Trubisky your quarterback? And if when you have someone like Cam Newton still out there, and why do you draft 10 tight ends? It's like, I don't think that the Bears might know where they're going, but from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like they do. It doesn't look like the Bears have direction at all of what they want to do. I don't know. I don't know the direction, and of course, maybe it's not for me to know. Like, I'm just a fan, but it's just like when I'm looking and I see 10 tight ends, I don't see 10 wide receivers. I don't see 10 running backs. I don't see 10 defensive ends. I don't see 10 offensive linemen. I don't see 10 defensive linemen. I see 10 tight ends after paying Jimmy Graham as much as you paid him this offseason. I just don't understand where you're going. And that just kind of doubles down in the draft. It's like, even after the draft, like I said, teams show you what direction they're moving in and what direction they're trying to go in, or if they're good, if they're happy with where they're at. The Bears didn't show any of that. I don't know what the Bears like. I don't know what the Bears want. Like, I just don't know. So that's to me that's another loser, because the Bears, I just don't know where they're going. And moving over to a winner side, the Colts. The Colts, I think they won the draft because they got everybody they wanted. And they addressed every need that they had, their problems. The Colts won the draft because not just the draft picks they have or the draft picks that they picked, but because of their offseason. You lose a first-round pick, but you lose a first-round pick to get DeForest Buckner, who is better than pretty much anybody you get in the first round at where you were. So you get DeForest Buckner. You address the defense. You get Phillip Rivers. While Phillip Rivers is not a long-term solution, he will at least be a 1 year solution, and then you'll figure it out. But then you get Jacob Eason this year in the draft. While I don't know how, the Jacob Eason ceiling, you have somebody that's pretty much playing behind not just Phillip Rivers, but Jacoby Brissett. You needed to address the wide receiver position. You have Michael Pittman Jr. from South Carolina, who's a great player. You wanted to address the running backs position. You got, to me, arguably the best running back in the draft, Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. That is a good pick. You address the defense again. You got Julian Blackmon from Utah, which is really good. And you address the offensive line with Danny Pinter. Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen a team that, to me, hit on every spot that they needed. And they hit with a really good player. Now, no, I don't know how good Pittman or Taylor or Blackmon or Eason, I don't know how good any of those would be, but I do know that they were really good in college. And if they pan out to be what they're projected to be, then the Colts have no problem at least being in contention moving forward. I don't know about next year, of course. And, of course, I don't think that Phillip Rivers can lead you to a Super Bowl because he hasn't done it when he was younger. He's not doing it now. But I do think that they addressed a lot of their needs. So that, to me, is my last winner in the Colts. And my last loser when in terms of teams, and I think they had the biggest loss. I think they lost the draft. Quiet as it's kept, the Patriots, look, I don't know if the Patriots are tanking. I don't know what the Patriots are doing. I know the Patriots lost Tom Brady. We'll talk about it a little bit, but the Patriots lost Robert Gronkowski. The Patriots lost so many defensive players. The Patriots, what was the biggest problem with the Patriots last year? Quarterback and wide receiver. They didn't address either of them in the draft. They pretty much, now I know they lost a lot of players defensively, but they went defense heavy. I think almost all their draft picks were defensive players. And then when Bill Belichick says, it wasn't in the cards for us to get a quarterback, you could have drafted up. You could have got a Jalen Hurts. You could have got a Jacob Eason. You could have got a Jake Fromm from Georgia. There was so many people you could have got, but you didn't get any. So now a lot of people are speculating, and I don't know, but it does look like they might be trying to tank for maybe Trevor Lawrence next year. I don't know. Maybe Justin Fields. But if we're just talking about this draft, the Patriots did the absolute worst job in this draft. It's like you lost Brady. You lost a lot of defensive players, and you didn't really address any of them. So don't get me wrong. You address the defense. The defense you address really well. Really, really well. But your offense is going to be garbage next year. You didn't even get I think they got maybe one wide receiver, if that. But I know they went defense heavy, like they usually do. But they usually have Tom Brady. They don't have Tom Brady, so now I guess Stidham is the dude, man. I guess, yeah. And one thing I want to talk about before we move off the draft is ESPN. It's the way that they handled the virtual draft. I think they did really well. I think, I didn't really see much technical difficulty. Shout out to Trey Wingo. He kept rolling with the punches. Shout outs to everybody that was involved. But one thing that I did not appreciate, now it's a running joke now on social media, but one thing I didn't appreciate is there are so many accolades that these college players have. A lot of them won state championships. A lot of them had showed out in the combine. A lot of them probably had a great stat that just pertains to them. A lot of them could have broke records. A lot of them could have done a lot of things. Why is it that almost every single player you had to show us or you had to tell us about a traumatic experience. I get that they probably didn't mind that information getting out, but to me, I don't want that information out or attached to me while I'm getting drafted. Yeah, the people are close to me. If they know, you know, what it is what it is. If I come out and tell them it is what it is, but I don't want to be like Jalen Hunter, wide receiver, Oregon, broke all Pac-12 records in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, led Oregon to the national championship, where he had one of the greatest, 25 touchdowns to 30 receptions, something like that. And then the last stat, mother, sister were homeless, starving, looking for food. Like, what? That is what happened all night. Or Jalen Hunter, wide receiver, Oregon. Jalen Hunter comes from, is going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league, but that did not come without some struggle. And then they'll show a video of his mom suffered from smoking crack. I'm like, hold on, what? And that was all night. Again, I respect that you still did the draft with the virtual. I respect that the WNBA did it, and the WNBA didn't do that at all as terms of like attach sad and sob stories and stuff, or attach that information to their players. Shouts out to the WNBA. But ESPN, you don't have to tell us about all this with every player. You don't have to tell us, they struggled this way, they struggled that way. Like, I don't need to know that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, Jesus Christ. Again, shouts out to you guys for putting on the draft and hosting the draft. All 7 rounds were on ESPN. Shouts out to, the Wi-Fi companies and all the tech that was involved. But again, I don't need to. I don't think it's right that you're attaching that. You're sharing that information during the biggest moment biggest moment in a lot of those players' lives. So I could just be tripping. I don't know, but that's all I'm saying. Moving forward, we kind of talked about Rob Gronkowski. That was kind of the first news of the week. Rob Gronkowski comes out of retirement and gets traded from the Patriots to the Bucs with Tom Brady. Now, of course, it wasn't a package deal, but he went with Tom Brady. Now, that makes the Bucs offense even scary. You have Tom Brady. You have Rob Gronkowski. Now, yeah, he did miss a year, but we'll see how that goes. You have O.J. Howard. We're going to see if they're going to do a 2 tight end set or if O.J. Howard's going to leave. We don't know. You have Mike Evans. You have the running back. Their offense can potentially be scary. I think it's just how much does Tom Brady have left in the tank? If we get the Tom Brady that we saw last year, they're not doing much. Now, again, a lot of people were saying it's because of the weapons that are around Tom Brady. Okay, we'll see now. Because like I said, you have plenty of weapons now at your disposal. So we'll see how it goes. And, that's another reason why I said that the Patriots lost the draft. It's like, there was so many people that you could have got, but you didn't. Like, you needed a tight end at this point. You needed a wide receiver. You needed a quarterback. You got none. So, shouts out to Gronk. Of course, we talked about the Trent Williams move from San Francisco. Shouts out to Trent. Shouts out to San Francisco. I think San Francisco made a lot of good moves in the draft as well. And they made a lot of good free agency moves. Yeah, you lose DeForest Buckner. You lose a couple of your defense players. You lose Emmanuel Sanders to the Saints. But you get Trent Williams, who is, when healthy and when playing, the best offensive tackle in the league. So, shouts out to him. Joe Staley, he retires, I think, after 13 seasons. Shouts out to him. NFL isn't an easy sport, so the fact that you're an offensive lineman, I don't think he missed a snap, and he played for 13 seasons, that's to be commended. So shouts out to you, bro. Jameis Winston signs with the Saints. I think the Saints made a lot of good moves. Yeah, you lose Teddy Bridgewater, but you sign Taysom Hill to a 2-year deal. You get Jameis Winston, who is I think at this moment in his career, will benefit incredibly sitting behind a Drew Brees. You get Malcolm Jenkins back. You get Emmanuel Sanders. I think they had a pretty good offseason. So I think that this is the smartest. I know that they're saying that Jameis Winston turned down bigger offers, which I think is really smart that you would turn down those offers to play because you still have a lot of years. I believe Jameis Winston still has a lot of years left. So the fact that you turn down those offers and still to play alongside one of the best quarterbacks the league has ever seen, I think that's smart. So the fact that you could take over the Saints, you could move on to bigger, better pastures. I don't know, but the fact that you're trying to get your game straight, I think the best thing to do is, I think the best thing to do might be to play alongside or play behind Drew Brees. So shouts out to that. Laramie Tunsil, he gets a 3-year, $66 million extension, making him the highest paid offensive lineman in the league. I don't know if I missed something, but even with Jeremy Tunsil there, Deshaun Watson still was under duress way too many times. So I see the potential, but from what I saw last year, I don't know how. Now again, I understand that you're pretty much gearing up to have to pay Deshaun Watson. That's pretty much why DeAndre Hopkins is gone. But, and that's why I think they're trying to bolster the offensive line. But again, last year he was under duress less than he usually is. But, I don't see it. I don't see what. I don't know. Like, Laramie Tunsil to me is a good player and his potential is through the roof. But like, the highest paid offensive lineman, I don't think so. Is there any other football? I don't think there's any other football. So we're going to move on just a little bit in the NBA. The NBA, there's NBA teams that's planning on opening their facilities, I believe, March 1st, because as we know, there's a couple of states that are reopening, due to the corona. We've all been on lockdown. A lot of us still are in lockdown, but a lot of the states are starting to reopen or planning on reopening. And alongside that, the NBA is going to probably do the same as far as their facilities. We'll just have to see how it goes, because there will be some teams that will be open, and there'll be other teams that still won't. Like for instance, I know the Washington Redskins. I know the Washington Wizards. Their facility probably won't be open, but the Atlanta Hawks probably will. Like I don't know how it's going to go, but I don't think that they want teams having longer periods that they can train before they make a decision on if they want to restart the season or start back up the season or not. So, that's just something to keep their eye on. And again, I hope everyone's still staying safe and this, that, and the third. Shouts out to Muffet McGraw. She stepped down as Notre Dame's head coach. She was the women's head coach for 33 years, and she brought 2 national championships. She is one of the most decorated and winningest coaches in WNBA. What in the world? In women's college basketball history. So shouts out to, again, Muffet McGraw. And the fact that she was able to leave on her own terms, that you don't see that a lot these days. So shouts out to her, and shouts out to the Notre Dame program. So, Alex Cora, he was the ex-manager of the Astros during the whole camera scandal, and he got suspended for the whole 2020 season. We kind of saw it coming. We knew that it was going to be something severe. He then took a job as the manager for the Red Sox, which they then fired him. And so what they're saying is, even whoever picks him up, He's gone for 2020. So we kind of knew this was happening. That's again, I talked about it ad nauseum how I don't think that the penalties were as fair as they should have been, and a lot of players, not even players just in MLB, but a lot of players outside. LeBron James spoke on it. There was some football players that spoke on it. They didn't think that the punishment was fair. They didn't think that the punishment was just. They felt that it should have been a little more severe, especially when this cheating directly led to a World Series champion. So, that's pretty much, we were pretty much waiting on the last nail in the coffin, which was Cora, I believe his last name is Alex Cora, and we found out that he will be suspended. The whole 2020 season. So, yeah. And lastly, Sunday, The Last Dance, episode 3 and 4 came on, and these episodes really showed the connection between the Bulls and Dennis Rodman, and as well as Phil Jackson. It also showed the connection that Phil Jackson had with not only most of his players, but the unique connection he had with Dennis Rodman. A couple takeaways I got. I didn't know that Dennis Rodman, I thought Dennis Rodman just disappeared. I didn't know that Dennis Rodman asked to go on a vacation. Now, I knew about the whole Vegas stuff, but I didn't know that he asked. I thought he just dipped. So, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, what you want to do as a coach, you want to connect with players where you can connect with them. You want to go down to their level and connect with them face to face. And Phil Jackson knew that if I wanted to get the most out of Dennis Rodman, if I wanted to get the most out of this player, out of this person, I have to connect with him. I know that he's not like Michael Jordan. I know that he's not like, I don't know, Paxson. I know he's not like Pippen. I know that, this. If I want this player to know that I really appreciate and I care about them, I'm going to connect with them. And the fact that he did that with Dennis Rodman, I thought that was pretty cool. I also thought it was, a lot of people saw the 30 for 30 that Dennis Rodman had. And of course, it went a lot more in depth on his relationship with Chuck Daly, his relationship with basketball in general, and I thought that it was really good that this documentary really just showed his relationship between him and the Bulls. And when I say the Bulls, I mean Phil Jackson, I mean Scottie Pippen when Scottie Pippen returned, and Michael Jordan. Another thing I didn't know that maybe I guess I'm in the minority. I don't know, but I didn't know Phil Jackson coached in Puerto Rico, I believe. I thought that was really cool to me. So, yeah. Another takeaway I did was you really saw the growth in Michael Jordan's leadership. Michael Jordan, and this is no disrespect to Doug Collins. Doug Collins was a great coach, but you saw Michael Jordan needed to learn how to play with a team, needed to learn that, yeah, I'm the best player, but I need to find a better way to get my other players involved, to get people like Scotty involved. I need to be able to trust people like John Paxson. I need to be able to trust a lot more my teammates, because even while the offense is centered around me when it was with Doug Collins, the fact that it's centered around the team now, we're winning a lot more. And that's what we saw. We saw Michael Jordan said I was a Doug Collins guy because he was putting the ball in my hands. Phil Jackson was taking it out of my hands and putting it into somebody else's hands. And he needs to learn from that. So it really showed the maturation of Michael Jordan. I actually watched this with a friend of mine. I'm going to give this to y'all because it was kind of funny. I actually watched it with a friend of mine, and we just wanted to talk. We just talked about it. And it was funny. It was funny. It was a friend of mine, Brittany McCoullough. I watched it with her, and just after we talked about it. So and it was kind of funny how it went. So here's it to you guys. Brittany, and we just finished episode 3 and 4 of The Last Dance. And of course, these episodes focused on Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson. Before I get my takes, what are some things that you took from both episode 3 and 4?
There's a lot more to Dennis Rodman than what meets the eye. I think that, in pop culture today, we see Dennis as like someone who's just crazy, but we saw a different side to him.
Yeah, I think it was good. I remember there was of course, we all know the 30 for 30 for Dennis and kind of delved deep. But this one really showed the connection that Dennis had with Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And I know in the documentary that showed the connection Dennis had with Chuck Daly. And one thing that I do like that I took away from episode 3 and 4 is that episode 1 and 2 really showed how Michael Jordan, came to be, and how Scottie Pippen came to be as far as terms of why they broke up. Oh, no, let me say as terms of money-wise, as terms of Scottie Pippen's relationship with, Jerry, as far as his relationship with the media or the ownership. And I think that these 2 episodes really showed his relationship with Michael Jordan and how Scottie Pippen was better with Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen better. I think episode 1 and 2 kind of showed Scottie Pippen's, I'll say, effect on Jordan. Do you feel that this episode really showed or really shined the light with Scottie Pippen?
Yes and no. I feel like episode 2, I want to say, focused more on Scottie. And this episode 3 really showed how Dennis was the one who held the team together when Scottie was not there or when Scottie was hurt.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. How do you feel about Dennis taking his Las Vegas hiatus?
I don't think that would happen today, but, I think Phil did what he had to do to keep Dennis happy.
Yeah, I always think, like, this wouldn't have flew in today's, because you have
a lot of stuff that they did would not go on in 2020.
Yeah, you got social media, you got stricter rules. Of course, we all know the bad boy Pistons, how they were throwing people around left and right. That wouldn't have happened today.
They weren't even fouling people. Yeah, that's like beyond a flagrant 2. I don't know what you even call those fouls.
Yeah, so they
were abusing people.
They were abusing people, and back in the day, they
were told to by their coach. That's what really is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. And again, that wouldn't have flew today. And the thing is, like you said, they weren't even fouls. They were just going out there mugging. But it worked for them.
For sure.
It got them, it got them 2 rings. One thing that I did like is they really personalized Phil Jackson. Mm-hmm. We all know Phil Jackson as the quote unquote Zen master. We know Phil Jackson as, one of the winningest coaches in NBA history. Mm-hmm. But they kind of went back. They went back to a lot of people don't know
Phil Jackson, the man.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know he played for the Knicks and won 2 championships. A lot of people, including myself, I didn't know he went to I think he went to Puerto Rico, I believe, to coach. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. And I think that it was good that they really dove deep and they showed the connection that Phil Jackson had with Dennis Rodman. I think Dennis Rodman's connection with Phil Jackson and with Michael Jordan really was the catalyst of how they were successful with Dennis. Do you agree?
I'd agree, aside from the fact of, the elephant in the room.
What's the elephant in the room?
Jerry.
Yeah, see, and what people, which makes sense. What people say is Jerry broke it up, and Jerry definitely had a large part, but Jerry didn't make the final decisions. Jerry was the GM. He wasn't the owner. If the owner wanted Phil Jackson, Phil Jackson would have been there. If the owner wanted Michael Jordan and all them to stay, they would have been there. So do you think that the owner is kind of getting a pass for all this stuff?
I mean, the owner is ultimately in control, but they kind of empower the GM in all sports to make these decisions. And so the blame should lie with Jerry.
Okay. I mean, I do agree. But I do think, like I said, the GM has a major part. I think if we're talking about sliced pie, I think that it's probably, I'll say
70-30. GM 70, owner 30.
I'll say in this situation, yes. I do think that, however, the GM does have ultimately more power than the GM. But, you know.
The GM has more power than the GM?
No, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the owner has more power than the GM because, of course, he's the owner over everything. But, you know, it does make sense that Jerry is getting a lot of the blame because Jerry is the one that we're seeing the most. And Jerry is the one.
Jerry had a huge ego.
Yes, and that ego definitely was one, if not the main reason for the split of the Bulls. And
now, granted, they were getting old.
They were getting old, but
go ahead.
They were getting old, but if you look at Jordan with the Bulls, Jordan with the Wizards. While Jordan, of course, his heydays were behind him. And even if you look at Scottie Pippen when he went to the Rockets, I don't think that I think that they could have kept going. I look at the landscape of the league. Now, I think they at least could have won one more because the year after they broke up, the Spurs won, the Tim Duncan Spurs. I think that they could have beat the Tim Duncan Spurs. Now, do I think they could have beat the Kobe, Shaq, Lakers? Probably not. But I do think they at least had one more in them. So I do think it is unfortunate too that, all this broke up for nothing. And, well, not for nothing, for ego pretty much. And I guess the last take I had on this episode was that Phil Jackson is like the GOAT at connecting with players. The man connected with Jordan. Because remember, Jordan said I didn't like him. He was Phil's guy. He was Doug Collins' guy because Doug Collins was giving him the ball. But Phil found a way to connect with Jordan.
I think there was a lesson in that.
What was the lesson?
No, remember how they said that Doug's role was to get Michael the ball?
Yes.
And what did Phil do? Phil cared more about the team.
The team, yeah. And I guess Michael liked that. Phil Jackson connected with Michael.
And you could see the growth in Michael and recognizing that Phil was actually the better coach.
Yeah. And then you also saw like you just said, and like they said in the doc, Phil Jackson cared about the team. So you saw the growth in Scottie. You saw the growth in, Horace Grant. You saw the growth in John Paxson. You saw the growth in Dennis Rodman. And then if you really look at, moving forward, of course, Kobe, his growth with Phil Jackson, and Shaq's growth with Phil Jackson, and just all these players, I think that Phil Jackson is just the GOAT at communicating. And it's funny because they were like, when he was younger, he was fiery. He was arguing with the refs and this, that, and the third. The Bulls Phil, and definitely the Phil that we saw for the Lakers, that is nothing like we saw. So I think that's kind of crazy how not just the evolution of these Bulls, but the evolution of Phil as a coach, and how he's really a main cog. Yeah, you had great players like R.P. Kobe, Michael, Shaq. But if you don't change as a coach and evolve as a coach, you're gonna fall by the wayside. So I think that was an incredible thing that we saw too. So yeah, I think it was pretty good.
What are you looking forward to in episode 5?
I'm really looking forward to seeing Team USA and the Dream Team. I wonder if they're gonna.
Aren't they the same?
Well, yeah, Team USA, Dream Team.
I know. So okay.
But I think that I hope they get into. I don't know if they will or not, but I hope they really dive into why Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the Dream Team. Of course, a lot of people kind of know because him and Michael Jordan had their tiff differences. But I hope that they get into that in the doc. But I'm really excited to see some unseen footage of the Dream Team. That to me is really I'm excited. What about you?
I want to see what happens in episode 6. I don't know what that's going to be about yet, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
I feel like the dream team is like, we know about it.
It's the dream team, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I want to see them dive into the second three-peat. That's what I'm looking forward to hearing about and learning about.
well, the way that this keeps jumping back and forth, we haven't even seen the...
Can we please talk about that for a moment? I'm really annoyed at the lack of...
Continuity?
Yes. They keep going back and forth. And I get it, but like, no. No. They got to stop doing that.
I think it's... I don't dislike it, but...
It gets annoying
It
at
does.
times.
It does.
It throws you off.
Especially this last episode. It does
Yes.
get a little confusing.
Yes.
As in, like, wait,
Totally
what?
agree.
Wait, where are we at now? Oh, because they were just talking about Rodman and how he connected with Phil. And then without okay, we're going back in time. The next...
But they don't always show the little ticker.
Yeah.
Like when they show the little ticker, the timeline, that's very helpful. Thank you, ESPN. But when you don't show it, like, F you, ESPN. Come on.
Yeah, and then you look up and, Rodman's back on the Pistons. Okay. And then we see, we saw the whole episode of Scottie Pippen and Jerry Krause hate each other, and then you see them dancing. And
Let's
so I was
go
just
back to 1991.
I was like, oh, yeah.
Weren't we just in 98? Like, come on, man.
So while I don't have a problem with it, it is kind of like jarring. So,
Very much so.
but I do agree with you. Okay. So we're talking about the draft and I know that you're a Steelers fan, and of course this episode is about winners and losers. I know that you're a Steelers fan, of course. How do you feel about the Steelers draft?
It was mediocre.
Why do you say it was mediocre?
I don't know. I just know it was mediocre.
Okay. Well, one thing that we do know, however, is
I'm happy we got Chase Claypool, but I feel like we should have took a tackle earlier on. And I'm happy that we got 2 players from the University of Maryland.
You went to University of Maryland, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. That's what's up. So I see the connection there. How do you feel? I remember we were talking and you said you guys should have got a quarterback and you were thinking about getting Jalen Hurts. I might not have thought of that, but how do you feel about why? Because you have Big Ben still, and
Big Ben is about to retire. Big Ben should have retired 2 years ago. I am so tired of hearing people say, "Oh yeah, Big Ben." No, Big Ben is old. He's been hurt how many times?
Okay.
Did he finish the season last year?
No, he didn't.
Exactly, my point. We need a quarterback, and I don't want to hear shit about. Oh, I shouldn't curse, huh?
You won't.
I don't want to hear anything about those 2 little backup quarterbacks we have now because they're not. They're not elite. Mason and the quack guy, they're not elite.
The quack guy? You mean Duck Root?
The quack.
Okay. So, since you're saying that they should get a quarterback, there was, I think, the biggest move, or the biggest draft that we saw, or biggest, let's say, seismic move that we saw was the Packers. Mm-hmm. The Packers were they were a game within the Super Bowl last year, and many people, including some of the Packers fans, felt that the only thing they needed was
some help for Aaron Rodgers.
And what do? They get
a quarterback.
So you say, y'all should have got a quarterback as far as the Steelers. Do you feel the same way about the Packers?
No.
Why?
They have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Aaron Rodgers has at least 2 to 3 years. They could have drafted a quarterback with their last pick, but wasn't it their first pick?
That was their first pick.
Their first, no. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm looking for a trade because they already planning to move on without you. They're not giving you no help. Who they want you to throw to? Yourself? They want you to throw the ball up and run down there and catch it too? Nah, they ain't trying to win. And all this happened. Why are you laughing right now? All this happened after Mike McCarthy left. They're trying to screw Aaron Rodgers. They're trying to screw him. But it's okay, Aaron. I'm here for you.
Well, Aaron Rodgers didn't like Mike McCarthy, right?
I'm aware. That's why he's gone.
Okay. So.
Same way with LeBron.
Whoa, what do you mean, LeBron? What do you mean? What do you mean?
This is the edit point.
Same thing as LeBron.
Edit point right here.
Okay.
That's how he tried to get Ty Lue back. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Ty Lue got fired. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that. There you have it. I thought that was a little funny. I just wanted to give it to you guys. It was, it was, yeah. So, again, I appreciate you guys. That is the end of this episode. if you guys like what you heard, please share, please subscribe, please just spread the word. I appreciate everyone that continues to come and continues to support, continues to listen, continues to share on social media, continues to send me stuff. If you have any questions or if you don't agree with something I said, leave it in the comments. We'll definitely talk about it. I have no problem talking. I have no problem communicating. It's fun. This is my opinions. We'll talk. Boom with the boom. So, hey, if you haven't, go over to my YouTube channel. While I do put the visuals every Wednesday, I'm starting to put a lot more videos on my YouTube channel. Yeah, the podcast will still be the same. The podcast, however you listen to it, however you receive it, that will still stay the same. But I'm going to add a little bit more visuals to the visuals. So if you haven't gone to check out my YouTube channel, go check out the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to that. Again, you're going to get a lot more videos, not just sports. You're going to get music reviews. You're going to get shoe reviews. You're going to get movie reviews. You're going to get food. You're going to get stuff like that. It's not going to affect the podcast, but I'm just adding more stuff to the YouTube. So go check that out. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And until next time, much love.
Clear skies, white walls, sunset in my review as the night falls. Listening to old Kanye, feeling like new Kanye. My life in harmony like 2-1, yeah, it's okay. I shouldn't have to tell you that I've been here. This is not a gimmick, please don't push me to my limit. I'll be getting tired of being friendly. I go hard until my tank is empty. I'm not really in the competition, no. Hating me won't ever get you mentioned, no. I stay in my lane, I stay in my lane. Might be driving new terrain, but my view never changed. Lil' mama flies a plane, she got that G5 hip. Thoughts of me dropping the top, gon' make me handle the wheel. All we been smoking is skill, she bout to roll up again. But we ain't even getting high no more. Now 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 we ain't even getting high no more.
Oh man, shit. She keep on asking me why that blunt still ain't went out, You lose your patience, say fuck it, just put that shit out. And lately we both ain't been out, been hiding up in our consciousness. Try to tell me be moderate, shit we boosting our tolerance, Let's smoke the papers that read our fate till we know the pages, Let's know the matrix that hide the truth, we not interfacing. Running through your days with no steady pacing. Feel you racing to your own demise, we ain't finna make it, I keep on saying, I call, you call, both calls get missed, yeah, Won't call you back, I text you piss, yeah, I keep the roach, I smoke the tips, I hurt my thumb, I burn my lips and shit. I need the smoke to be straight, I gotta get me some bands. I cop the 8th like every day, borrow that shit from my man, till I forgot to go pay. He told me never again, now I ain't even getting high no more.
Lil' mama flies a plane, she got that G5 hip. Thoughts of me dropping the top, gon' make me handle the wheel. All we been smoking is skill, she bout to roll up again. But we ain't even getting high no more. Now 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 we ain't even getting high.